Hi guys, I'm just another guy named James, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1987 Shazam series called Shazam! New Beginnings. This is a series written by Roy and Dan Thomas. They're the brothers who wrote Avengers for a long time, and they're some of my favorite writers, the two of them together. But Roy Thomas is the main writer, and he just absolutely kills it on this series especially. And yeah, so the basic point of this particular limited series was basically to bring Captain Marvel into the DC universe. And in this video, I'm going to be calling this character, the guy with the lightning bolt on his chest, that is Captain Marvel. It's a very modern development that the character is not called Captain Marvel anymore. That was a thing that came out of, I believe, the New 52 in DC. So I'm going to be referring to that character as Captain Marvel. Now, that's not to be confused with any of the Captain Marvels from the Marvel universe. And this guy's even the first one who was called Captain Marvel, so I don't know why that's a confusion that exists. I do know why, but anyway. So yeah, the whole point of this story was to bring Captain Marvel into the DC universe post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's basically just Captain Marvel is in the DC universe now, and and of course you folks already know that he's in the DC universe because he was in the Legends crossover, and this actually takes place just before the Legends crossover, the end of the story leads right into the beginning of Legends. You'll see that near the end. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're going. We're going to be talking about this Captain Marvel series, and I mentioned who it was written by, but it's also drawn by Tom Mandrake, who is an artist on Batman in the mid '80s, and he's pretty good. He's not necessarily the best, but he's pretty good. His work is it's dynamic, if not my favorite. I don't know. There's something about the way he draws faces I don't especially like, but that's beside the point, because we're just going to hop straight into our story, which opens with a fiery car crash and a sudden cut to a happy scene showing the 15-year-old Billy Batson watching his uncle perform a card trick. But the happiness in this scene doesn't last long, as the phone is answered by Billy's uncle Dudley, who hears about the death of Billy's parents in the car crash that we saw at the beginning. So we then cut to the funeral of Mr. and Mrs. Batson, where we see Billy's secret uncle, Dr. Savannah, is in attendance. Later, we jump to a court scene where Dr. Savannah and Uncle Dudley are battling for custody of Billy. And it's not really clear why Savannah wants to adopt Billy, because Savannah's not the family kind of guy. But we see just outside the courtroom that Billy is meeting his cousins, who are Dr. Savannah's kids. And they're trying to convince Billy to come and live with them. And with Dr. Savannah. And they're doing this with talks of family and unity and being all together. So when Billy is called into the court, he tells the judge that he wants to go live with Savannah. At Savannah's house, we see that Billy has been tricked. The cousins don't live at the house, and Savannah starts beating Billy. We then see that Savannah only wanted Billy to live with him so he could collect the life insurance from his parents' death. So Billy runs off after hearing this. And Savannah's also working on this secret machine down in his basement, and we don't quite know what that's for yet. And Billy runs to the subway, and he sees a mysterious figure who he decides to follow. And while he's walking, he sees some strange things before he comes to a throne with the wizard named Shazam sitting on top. The wizard gives Billy power, wisdom, strength, speed, and stamina, and courage. And then he explains that Captain Marvel's the superhero name of Billy. So Billy says, Shazam, lightning strikes him, and he becomes Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel's the one with all the powers. And Captain Marvel's purpose is to defeat Black Adam, and Black Adam is the last human that the wizard gave powers to, and he gave Black Adam those powers way back in ancient Egypt. So, and then the wizard dies, and there's a cave-in in the tunnel, and Billy has to decide how he's going to use his power. And then we see Dr. Sivana using his machine to bring Black Adam out from the alternate dimension, or limbo, that he was trapped in. So Black Adam starts trying to destroy the machine, but Dr. Sivana is able to convince him to not only not destroy the machine, but to also help Sivana, but also to keep Sivana alive, so that Sivana can teach Black Adam about the way things work in the present. We then cut to a bus station where we see Billy trying to buy a bus pass so he can get to Albuquerque from San Francisco. But he doesn't have enough money, so his cousin helps him out, and he is on his way. Billy makes it to the theater, but the theater that his uncle is performing at, but he can't get in because he's a kid. So he says the magic word, and he's able to get in no problem as Captain Marvel. Cap volunteers to be a part of one of the tricks and dazzles the crowd. And when he becomes Billy behind a closed door, behind like a box. So Billy and Dudley decide to head back to San Francisco to investigate Dr. Sivana. And the pair fly off and land at a diner and get lunch. While they're eating, Billy hears about an emergency, so Captain Marvel flies into the situation, searching for a UFO that's trying to intercept something called Bigwig 1. He's soon joined by a few Air Force jets who are also in pursuit, but he is able to outpace them. So Captain Marvel comes up on a passenger plane, and that's assumed to be Bigwig 1. And then the UFO reveals the unidentified flying object is Black Adam, who decks Cap, and the two begin to just start, and the two are just fighting up in the sky. And Captain Marvel's doing pretty well until Black Adam takes the passenger plane hostage, which is the hostage is the plane is Bigwig 1, so it's something important, and that forces Cap to retreat. So Captain Marvel and Uncle Dudley finish their flight back to San Francisco, and Billy wants to report the information that he has about the hostages to the local news. But Dudley advises against it because, he doesn't actually have any information about where the hostages are, but Billy does it anyway, sneaking off in the middle of the night. Billy makes it to the head of the news station, but she ends up calling the cops on him. And she calls Billy's cousins because, she just thinks he's a runaway. So he runs off to the subway tunnel where he found the wizard. And once Captain Marvel takes down the wall that was barricading the sanctuary, he's able to light a brazier and speak with the spirit of the wizard. The wizard then explains the origin of Black Adam, how he was an Egyptian warrior who abused the power that the wizard gave him before he was banished to Limbo. And when Captain Marvel hears that Black Adam came from another dimension, he is able to put it together that it was Dr. Sivana who brought Black Adam out of that other realm. So Cap flies off to Sivana's house, where he confronts Sivana about Black Adam until Black Adam reveals himself, and again the two begin to fight. And Cap takes Black Adam away from the house, and he's able to fight him almost to a standstill, but they end up back in the house, and Sivana uses a machine to finish off Captain Marvel, a fact that enrages Black Adam as he no longer knows if he could have beaten Cap on his own. So, and next we see Captain Marvel being restrained on a machine by Dr. Sivana and Black Adam. While the two villains are debating what to do with Captain Marvel, a message is broadcast from the president saying that the U.S. will not provide a ransom for the hostages. So Black Adam goes off to kill the hostages because their usefulness has ended, And Sivana goes to send Cap off to the dimension that Black Adam had been trapped in at the beginning of the story. But Uncle Dudley comes up and starts beating up Sivana until Sivana pulls a gun on him, forcing Captain Marvel to call Shazam, blind the room with a flash of lightning, and Billy uses the confusion to try to fight off Sivana. But Dudley is left to finish to deliver the finishing blow. Billy then reveals that he is Captain Marvel to Sivana, and he begins questioning him about his parents' death. And Sivana almost immediately admits that he planned their deaths, and Captain Marvel then flies off to have one final confrontation with Black Adam. Confrontation that begins over the ocean, where the two Titans start to fight. But Captain Marvel is in a losing situation until he's able to trick Black Adam into sending himself back into limbo, leaving Captain Marvel to rescue the hostages and destroy the machine that Dr. Sivana used to bring Black Adam out of limbo. We also see that Sivana has escaped custody and is teaming up with Mr. Mind, this little, worm guy. And finally, to end the story, we see Billy doing an interview with G. Gordon Godfrey, which leads us into the Legends crossover. So yeah, overall, this story was surprisingly good. I shouldn't say surprisingly good, but it was very good. There wasn't really anything about it I disliked. One of the weird things that I thought was just a little odd was they never really have Captain Marvel and Black Adam never really have a finishing fight. We never find out who's stronger. I guess it's just assumed that they have the same strength. But Captain Marvel only wins because he uses the wisdom of Solomon. He doesn't win through strength, and that's a pretty traditional hero trope that they just they're able to win through without having to resort to the villain's tactics. It's a classic trope, but that doesn't mean it's not sometimes a little boring. The fact that Dr. Sivana escapes at the end is like, really, Dudley, you had the gun right up against his back. How did he get away from you? But it's whatever. It's just a weird little story. Captain Marvel is actually strangely Captain Marvel doesn't actually have much to do in the story. He fights Black Adam, he flies around, but that's about it. The story would, Billy does most of the hard work, and Captain Marvel, he does work, of course. He's the one who's actually taking fights, he's the one doing all the cool stuff, but Billy's the one who actually tricks Black Adam into going back into the other dimension. It's Billy who beats Dr. Sivana. He only becomes Captain Marvel after Sivana's already, placated or whatever. So yeah, it's just a strange story in that way, but it is a good setup to Legends because it shows that Captain Marvel just got these powers and that he's not used to them, and that's part of why in Legends he doesn't understand that it wasn't him who killed the guy at the start of Legends. It's a good story. I actually really like it. It's a great way to bring Captain Marvel back into the DC universe, and I think it sets up for the future of Captain Marvel really well. I don't know how much of that future for Captain Marvel they actually use, but I think it would have been. I think it's cool. It actually reminds me a lot of the movie, the Shazam movie. The main difference is that instead of the 7 deadly sins working with Dr. Sivana, it's now Black Adam, and I think that's actually a cool change. I wish they'd gone that way in the movie, but it doesn't matter. Either way, it plays the same. I do really like that movie, by the way. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is just a fun story. It's a fairly quick read, honestly. Reading through all 4 parts took me hardly any time. And yeah, I would really recommend. It's a pretty cheap limited series too. I think I found the whole. I think the whole thing ended up being $5, which for a 4-part limited series, that's pretty good. But yeah, it's just a good story. That's really all I can say about it. The artwork can sometimes be a little hard to follow. There were a couple times where it was just showing the faces of Black Adam and Captain Marvel, and it was a little hard to tell who was who. But stuff like that just happens. And yeah, the whole first page of the story is just a wall of text. And it's just Roy Thomas explaining all the changes he made from the classic lore. And it's really cool. You can tell this was definitely a labor of love for Roy Thomas. And it really comes through in his writing. You can tell there's just a lot of attention to detail in it. And it's nice. I actually really do like the story. But that's really all I've got to say on it. So yeah, for now, I'm all done. So I'm just another guy named James. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.